This is WFYI News Now. It's November 13th, and I'm Abriana Herron. On today's show, a road revitalization project on Indy's west side is complete. Upcoming changes to Indiana's tax code will likely have significant impacts on school funding. And how will Donald Trump handle U.S. climate policy during his second term?
I suspect that Republicans will try to peel back some portions of the Inflation Reduction Act, but will try to keep others in place because they, their constituents, businesses in their districts or in their states are benefiting.
Those stories coming up, but first. The annual Veterans Day Parade kicked off in Indianapolis Monday, with dozens of groups marching in the event. Participants traveled around the American Legion Mall. The parade started blocks away from HVAF, helping veterans and families, where a fire recently resulted in nearly 50 veterans being displaced. Steve Bartley rode in the parade with the Avon American Legion Riders and says supporting fellow veterans is vital.
You know, we just had the veterans home here, HVAF burn. I think our Legion gave around $6,000 to $8,000 to help rebuild that. So it's just an ongoing fundraising and giving back.
Bill Thalling, a Navy veteran from Bloomington, had also recently experienced homelessness.
Seems like there's a lot of things going on that's not too much to do with democracy, and this does.
A ceremony and flyover was also a part of the Veterans Day celebrations in downtown Indianapolis. The city has more acres dedicated to honoring veterans than any other city in the United States. A road revitalization project on Indianapolis's west side is finally complete. City leaders highlighted the Morris Street improvements at an event on Tuesday. The project will improve road safety and bike and pedestrian access from Eagle Creek to Harding Street. The $10 million investment by the Indianapolis Department of Public Works added new sidewalks, trees and landscaping, upgraded traffic signals, new bike lanes, and resurfaced roads. Heather Peace is the president of the Mary Rigg Neighborhood Center, a nonprofit that supports residents in the area. She says the idea for the project came out of a neighborhood meeting she and other residents held nearly 20 years ago.
You know, it's just so meaningful to West Indy, and so honored to have people coming out and celebrating with us for sure. The project was a massive undertaking, and so it deserves a celebration. It means a lot to the neighborhood.
Peace says that while the completion of the new project is exciting, she hopes to see more investment on the west side in the future.
But there's certainly a lot more opportunity here, and there's a lot more things that we can be doing, and so we're excited to see what the next chapter is now that this project's finished.
The city says it will invest $300 million into safer streets over the next 5 years through its Complete Streets program. Changes to Indiana's tax code next year will likely have significant impacts on school funding across the state. Any tax reform passed by lawmakers during the upcoming budget session could impact the amount of money public schools are able to collect through taxes. Nearly all of Indiana's public school funding comes directly or indirectly from state and local taxes, and in 2021, almost 43% of all property taxes collected went to public schools. However, Indiana's property taxes have climbed in recent years. Lawmakers introduced measures like tax caps, which limits homeowners and businesses' tax bills to provide Hoosiers with some relief. However, some school corporations say those measures have left a hole in their budgets. The impact is most significant in areas with high tax rates. Indiana property tax expert Larry DeBoer says measures like tax caps are a quick solution to a long-term problem. He says much of Indiana's tax reform over the past few decades has been reactive rather than proactive.
This is the accumulation of 50 years of property tax reforms done in emergencies. So that's why we have what we have.
State lawmakers are looking to reform Indiana's tax system again in 2025. A task force to review state and local taxes will make recommendations later this month. The General Assembly will reconvene in January. And for our final story today. Donald Trump has promised to rescind any unspent dollars from the Inflation Reduction Act. That's the Biden administration's major climate bill, which funds everything from energy efficiency upgrades to homes to green manufacturing. Indiana Public Broadcasting's Rebecca Thiel reports states that have benefited from the law, like Indiana, may want to keep that funding.
The IRA has resulted in more than $7 billion in private investment and 5,000 proposed jobs for the Hoosier State, mostly in electric vehicle battery manufacturing. Indiana University professor David Koniski researches environmental and energy policy. He says though Trump can revoke those unspent funds, only Congress can repeal the law.
I suspect that Republicans will try to peel back some portions of the Inflation Reduction Act, but will try to keep others in place because their constituents, businesses in their districts or in their states are benefiting.
During his first 4 years, Trump rolled back more than 100 environmental rules, undermined environmental science at federal agencies, and withdrew the U.S. from the Paris Climate Agreement. Koniski says Trump will likely return to that playbook, but with more experience and a more favorable Supreme Court. For Indiana Public Broadcasting, I'm Rebecca Thiel.
And that's all for today's episode of WFYI News Now. Our podcast is produced by Drew Daudelin, with support from the news team at WFYI and public media journalists across the state. Our news director is Sarah Neal-Estes. Kendall Antron produced our music, and I'm your host, Abriana Herron. If you like today's episode, remember to subscribe and share, and follow WFYI on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and YouTube to check in on our newsroom throughout the day. Thanks for listening. We'll be back tomorrow.